In this workshop facilitated by Miss Robin, we will be looking at innovative teaching techniques that we will be utilizing at Northeast Comprehensive.
How is the Google Classroom organized? So when you come into my class, this is what you see. So the children see my heading, NECS from free chemistry, and I wrote their names. I do not have a lot of children in my third form chemistry class, so I could write everybody's name up there. So that's what I customize my heading. Some people prefer to keep what Google has. If you feel like customizing, you customize your heading. Now, if you realize I kept only announcements on my stream, this is because I wanted to keep my stream very organized and without any of the classwork clogging it up. So as the children come on, they are just seeing only what I want them to see, the announcements. Now, some people have their classwork, every classwork they post, it comes up on their stream. This doesn't look very organized, and it looks very busy, and you want your children to focus on one area. So what I did is that I went up here into the settings, and I said, I looked on the stream, and I said students can only comment, because I do not want the students to post anything in there. I just want them to comment on my posts. They can only comment under my posts. Now, some people are even more controlling, and they might want to just have only the teacher being the one to post or comment. So you can click only teachers can post and comment. But then again, the students might not have something they want to ask you, and so they will not be able to. So that's why I said students can only comment, so students cannot post. So I only want them to comment, because sometimes they will want to start their own post and disrupt my flow, and I like my things organized. So that's what I clicked. I clicked students can only comment. Then I went down classwork on stream. I do not want to see any notifications, so I hide my notifications. So that means anything I post on the classwork doesn't show up on the stream. So classwork is under the classwork tab. It does not show up under the stream tab. So anytime you post a classwork, it's not going to show up on the stream. Classwork is for classwork. So if anybody wants to keep it like that, they can do that, okay? So you keep everything streamlined. Just announcements in your stream, classwork in the classwork tab. So you keep everything separate from each other. Okay. Guidance summaries. If you have your students guidance emails and you want to send summaries for them, you can click there and generate it. And every week, like the classwork you have in there, if you want them to know that the students have an assignment coming up, it sends everything to them, so they will know whether or not the students are doing their work. So if you want to do that, you can give the guidance summaries of your class. That is especially good for the lower school students, especially first formers, second formers, where they have a lot of, they're not so thing with doing their work. So you want the guidance to help them in their work, so you can give summaries. That is if you have the email addresses of your guidance. So if you go under people, you'll see where they say email all guardians or invite guardians. That's where you put that in. So if you have the guardians email, you can put them in, and then you can send summaries to your guardians. So all the classwork you have, the assignments you have put up there, they can receive them, so they will know whether or not their students. So if Maya is doing Maya had a classwork due on the 7th of October, parents will know that she had that classwork due, so they will ask Maya, where's the classwork you were supposed to hand it? Did you hand it to me? Okay. Any questions so far on my stream?
No, miss.
Okay. So my stream is basically me I'm speaking to my students. Now, in the online classroom, you are the teacher and you are far away from your students, miles away. So you have to post on every day that you have class. You post something to the class as a means of getting them prepared for what they're going to do today. So I usually have a little thing, and you have to be very short and concise. People don't like a lot of information. So that's why I use bullet points. I do a little greeting. I tell them before we meet what I want them to do. Have your materials ready for class, your notebook, your textbook, pen, pencil, ruler. You click on the link in L3.1. Have a great day. That's it. Sometimes when I have time, I only did that because that day we had Monday, we had a very long staff meeting, and I did not have time to go and create my agenda, what I usually create. So what I usually do is I usually create an agenda for the class and I post it up there so the students can read my agenda and see what they have for the day. So let me click on the image. Good. So today's agenda, and I tell them what is it. So recap of last week, states of matter classwork, and we are going to do next class prep. So I tell them exactly what we're going to do in the class for that day. And so when they click on the agenda, they will know what I am doing in their class. So every time I post an agenda, I say what we're going to do, so they are prepared for that. So you can do that too. So how did I create my agenda? For those of you who are asking, I use canva.com, and then I use the classroom presentation of the classroom. So it have different classrooms. You can choose from the different classrooms. And what I did also is that I created a Bitmoji. So you can create your own Bitmoji, and your Bitmoji can say anything you want it to say, anything you want, and I use that Bitmoji as in my stead instead of my picture. I have an agenda so the students know what is going on. You do not need to create anything fancy like that in the agenda. Everything I have in the agenda, you can post it in bullet points on the Google Classroom. So if you don't have time, just like how I did not do it for that day, and I just bullet posted what I have there, you can post it like that, okay? So that's it. So your students know when they come in, there is an announcement of what they are going to do for the day and what materials they need, so they come prepared and organized for class. So when they come to class, they will say, Miss, I didn't remember to do it. It is there already. So they have it there. So you can schedule the posts if you want the students to have the information the night before. If it's something they have to prepare the night before, you can schedule your post to since the day before, saying what you want to bring for class the next day, so the students come prepared with what they have to bring for class the next day. Any questions?
So far, so good.
So my classwork section now. I'm going over across to the classwork. Now, I have arranged my class in such a way that I have on top things that I want to remain on top so that the students can always access it as they come on the classwork. So my online class rules, my netiquette rules. Those of you all who want to put the syllabus, there's a great idea to put the syllabus there. I did the syllabus for math. So you put the syllabus up there. Vocabulary for the students who are doing the modern languages, English, and so vocab the students need to know for their modern languages. That is something they need to know. The extra verbs or whatever, you put that up there because that is something they're going to be using all the time. The school rules, if you have a copy of the school rules, you put the school rules up there. For my 4th and 5th form, I have the SBA. the SBA book. I put the SBA book up there. So anything that is handy that the children are going to use for the entire term, it comes up at the top of the stream because it is not under any topic. As long as something is not placed under any topic, it goes at the top of the classwork area. So there is where you put things that are important that you want the children to see as soon as they enter the classroom area. So I don't know if anybody else have any other idea of any other things you can put up there. You can type it in the chat box so the teachers can know of any other thing that you can put there. So you put that there, and then your expectations, all that can go up there. How I labeled my class, I did it per week. Now, some people can do this per subject. I chose to do mine per week because I feel that it is more organized on a weekly basis. So week 1 was October 4th to 8th, then week 2, then week 3. So it goes by the week. If you realize, I have something called class attendance, and this is where the students go in and they click on my class attendance to tell me what they do, okay? So they say they are here, I click. If you didn't say you're here, I know you were absent from my class on that day. So I have it. So I know in week 1, Jane was absent from my class on the 5th of October. So if I have any assignment for classwork on the 5th of October and I saw Jane did not complete it, I know she was not there on that day. And I'll tell her, Jane, you were absent on that day. So I go back on the stream. And I would send an announcement to Jane. And when you see all students, you can look for the child you're talking about. So let us say it's Maya. I unclick this. I click Maya and I type in, Maya, you did not submit. And I copy and I say, Maya, you did not submit my assignment because you were absent on that day. Please complete it. And then I post that. Maya is the only person who's going to see that announcement. Nobody else is going to see that. So Maya knows that she did not do my work. She has to complete it. So that's what you use the stream for also, to communicate with the students. Okay? Now, under the classwork, I label things according to, I have a labeling system. L stands for lesson, M stands for material that I want the children to do, T for test, and then I say C for classwork. So anything you want. So L 1.1 means that week 1, lesson 1, I taught states of matter. And for my lesson on week 1, lesson 1, these are my notes that I want the children to have. So I put the lesson and the notes. So they have the notes there. So any supplementary notes they needed for the lesson, extra notes that they want to use, I place it there. Then, if you go up, you realize that I placed a thing on the note here. I gave the students a classwork on week 2, and it was lesson 2. My whole lesson 2 was a classwork they had to complete for me. And they were asking me, Miss, where is the information? I said, the information, you can get information to answer your classwork in M2.1. And because I wanted them to know that's where I put a red exclamation point to guide them there. So then they will guide it there. They got the information, the notes, whatever I put there, so that they could do the assignment on day 2. And on that, hello, yes, sir.
How did you get it to change the color and so forth? I think some teachers might have that question.
Okay, what I did is I went to the Chrome extension, and that's an emoji. So you download, you type in emojis, and you can get an extension for emojis, and you can have it placed there. So if you watch on top there, I have my emojis, and you can click and all the emojis come up. And all the emojis come up, and you can choose whatever emoji you want. So you can go on Chrome extension on the Chrome store, and you type in emojis, and you can get emojis there. So you can use your emojis. If you're on your phone, you can use your phone emojis. It's very simple. But if you're on your laptop or on a desktop and you want to use your emojis, you can get it as an extension. Okay, so I have everything labeled in order, and I put my lessons in order. Everything has to be in order because everything has to be organized, because you want the students, as soon as they come in, everything is clean and organized. I put a tick by class because everybody completed it, so I put a tick. When children did not complete it, I had a big red X there, meaning that it was incomplete and some students were missing from doing it. Everybody came in and they finished with it, so I pressed the tick there to show that yes, you have completed it. So I'm going to remove the tick soon. Okay, so that's it. Any questions?
Sorry, welcome to Miss Lavelle class where phone resides, and I have my banners for my different classes. But as you were saying, some of them are a little busy and you can't really understand it. I get where you're coming from, but
yes, remember it's the children, and the children don't need as soon as they come in to be able to read what you have on your stuff. So that is quite easy because I had to take a kind of a time to read, and then you have down here, and I have no idea what you wrote down there.
Okay,
just on the week 1. There, yeah,
this
that
one
material. Okay. The one on top of it, I have no idea what is written there.
Oh, land as a factor for, I don't know, land as a factor of production.
And that's another point I would to. As much as possible, you use fonts that are very easy to understand and read. Because some children are on their phones, so some things might not translate properly on the mobile. So you need to have fonts that are very simple and easy to understand.
Thanks for the feedback, everyone. Thanks.
Okay, you're welcome, Mrs. Lavelle. Okay, so we are finished organizing the classroom. I have a few tips. When you are writing your announcements, you have to give clear instructions. And when you are writing what is in your assignments too, you also have to give clear instructions. So, and you have to be clear and concise. Nothing long, just telling the students what is it. Lucy, I wrote, here's a copy of the interactive lesson we'll use this week. This way you can go back and interact with the material again. Very clear, very short, very concise. You say the information, you tell them what you want them to do, and you say it in a very clear and concise manner. You do not go overboard with long flowing language. You create a sequence for how you present your lessons. So as you can see, my days go up. First lesson, then second lesson, then third lesson. It builds on each other. So I have a sequence there. And when you are preparing your lessons, you have to prepare them before posting. Don't just post things right before you sit down and you plan your work and you decide what you're going to use before you post it. The students have different learning styles. So I expect your classwork to have a variety. So sometimes you might tell the children to do something. So for example, agricultural science. This week, you might tell the children to plant a bean. Plant a bean in a thing and take a little video of them planting the bean. So that's one where they interact with their surroundings. They're doing something. Next week, you tell them fill in the blanks for things. What is agriculture? So that is a written work. Then the other time you say something, watch this video and answer the questions. So you have touched all the different types of learners. So the students who like to see can watch the video, answer the questions. Children who like to write, you tell them to write an essay on something, they touch that. Children who are hands-on learners, you told them to go out and plant a seed, they went out and planted the seed. So you are catering for multiple learners, okay? So then your assessments have variety and your assignments have variety. So everything does not necessarily mean that they have to do it exactly on the Google Classroom. All the work, 10 hours, the children staring at a computer to do the work. Sometimes you have to give them assignments that they can go out and interact with the real world away from the computer. And then they will post it up on the classroom when they're finished with it. So you give them different activities for the classwork. Some of them you might grade, some of them just for doing it. When they're finished doing the classwork that you place on the Google Classroom, it is important that you give them feedback. So it is important, as long as you place a classwork there and they had to do something with it, they had to interact with it, you give them feedback. So you place feedback there. Now, another way they say students learn is social learning, participation, and in class we would ask questions, children would raise their hands, but you're not in class most of the time, so you want a discussion. So you can create a discussion forum. So what you do on the classwork, you go and you say, click on create, and you say you create a question. And when the question comes up, you type up your question, and then you give the instructions, and then you say students can reply to each other, and you create a forum. This is good for subjects that, like social studies, social sciences, English, and subjects like that, where you want the children to have meaningful discussions on something. So the history teacher can maybe post up a picture of Toussaint Louverture, if I'm pronouncing his word right, and the Haitian Revolution, and then you tell them about, analyze what effect the Haitian Revolution had on the American Revolution, and then the students will respond to each other inside there. So then you say you have to respond to at least, you have to post and then respond to at least 2 of your peers. So then the students can post something and they can respond. So then there is genuine discussion happening. So this is a way to get discussion forums there, participation in when they are not offline. So this is a great idea for a home assignment where you want the children to interact with each other outside of your live sessions. So you create questions like that and you place that inside here in the Google Classroom. So you write your questions in, you post them, students interact with each other, you come in, you give little comments, you give feedback, and this is something that is very important, feedback. So you always have to in the online learning space, because you are not, you want to give the children feedback within 2 or 3 days after something is due. You should give them feedback on what is due. So you have to give them feedback so that they understand. Now, in the Google Classroom, if in your Google Meet, Jack or Jane said something that was excellent, and they gave a very good thing, and for example, John, you know, is a child that's very troublesome, but that day, John was just on in your live sessions. You go on the announcements, you say, good job, John, you put a kudos, you maybe make a nice little banner or something for John, you put it in the announcements, you think John feels a little, so you reinforce positive behavior, you get the children interested, especially the children in the streams, the 4s and the 5s, where you have to reinforce positive behavior so that they know that they are doing something positive. You always send updates and notifications to your students, especially if something comes up that they need to take note of, that they did not complete, and you want them to be on task, you send a note there for them. Evaluation. We have to talk about the evaluations. Everybody's going to say, Miss Robin, how are we going to make tests authentic in the Google Classroom? When children all over, they can open any book, they can do anything they want, they can see anything, and my test not going to be authentic at all. I think, well, your assessments are now going to move away from mainly knowledge-based regurgitation, and it now has to be something called application of knowledge. So the test is going to be majority of applying what they learned and not just plain regurgitation of what they learned. So that when you ask a question, they cannot just take it and send it into a tab and say, huh, and they get the answer. It's something that they have to apply what they learn and answer. So your tests are going to be more application than regurgitation of knowledge. So you have to sit down and plan. So this means your tests have to be sent across to your head of department so they can see them to make sure that they are okay for the Google Classroom. So it's a lot of application. So even if they have the things open and stuff, but they have to do some more reading, which will take the off of their time, they will not be able to go and look for answers anyway. They will have to sit down and focus on what they're doing so that they can get those marks. So any questions on evaluations and assessments?
I wanted to ask a question for
Yes.
something you said before. In terms of when you put in, if I could share my class, so it will see if you can help me. Because I organized my stuff by topics. So this is my my fifth form class, one of my fifth form classrooms. So you notice I have, like you were saying, like the SBA and stuff, you would put it right at the top. But I created a topic for my SBA. So how do I get it to be on top so that they can always see it instead of, because right now it's like my second topic and it's right down.
You just remove the topic and it will go right on top.
Okay.
So then delete the topic and the top will just go right on top for you.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Miss Miss Baron, I was just wanted to add to Miss Baron. She wanted to move this stuff. It can be dragged on top as well.
Yes, it can be dragged, but you have to continually drag it.
No, and you can also click on it and just take move.
Yeah, the free dots, they are free dots. Okay, thank you.
All right, so now we do not want the children to spend too much time online. Some of the students, if you all realize, teachers and all were complaining about how erratic our internet is. So if you can create, and this is one of the things that we learned in our mobile learning class we did over in June, I think we did that. They told us that we can prepare audio lessons. You remember that? Podcasts where you prepare audio lessons that are downloadable so the children can hear you. So you can have mini lessons that in audio format. So you can tape it on your phone and you place it in the Google Classroom. The children can download it and listen to it while they brush their teeth, while they wash their face, while they are in their bed in the night. They listen to you talking on and on about a topic. So the students can download that. So some of the readings that you put there, you can put it in PDF format so they too can download those and they can have those offline. So they do not necessarily have to be online all the time to get the material. So if you can put the material in PDF format, or if you can put some of your lessons in audio lessons, especially little, you don't have to make long lessons, maybe summary and the main points of a topic, especially for the fifth formers, you give them the main points of the topic, what you really want them to think, so that they can download it and listen to it. in audio. If you find your voice is a very great in voice, like I know I have a terrible voice, what you can do is that you can go online to get some of those text to audio things where they convert your text into audio and they read it in this kind of monotonous voice. If you watch some YouTube videos, you can hear them doing it. So you can do that also. So these are ideas for the children, especially if they cannot stay online for long hours. So your lessons can be more, so they can access your lessons. Okay? If you have discussion forums and stuff like that, and if you do things like, well, for English essay writing and stuff, where they do essays and stuff, you'll have to place rubrics online there. So I think there's a section which teaches you how to make rubrics for those things, so the children know what you are marking them on. So if you feel that it is more authentic, the children working more authentic when they do it in your forums and your discussion forums and stuff like that, you do more of those activities than if you find the tests are not as authentic. So work what the children, you know the children do for themselves, where they write in their own words and stuff. You can do more of that so that you will have more authentic evaluation of their work. Okay, teachers? All right.
Yes, miss.
Nice. Now, if you want to know if how the class is going, you can set up a poll, you can set up a survey in the middle of your class. How is Miss Robin teaching so far? You set up a poll. It is rubbish, good job, whatever you want to say. The children will give feedback on whether they find you are teaching well online. It is good to get feedback from the children to know whether or not you are reaching them online. No sense you there 6 weeks teaching and the children then find what you're talking is pure rubbish. They don't understand anything. They're not understanding. You have them in some form of tie-up. So yes, Mrs. Vargo?
I didn't get where you would put that. Only.
You can set up on the ask. You can make it into a multiple choice or a short answer where you think, or you can put it under your announcements, wherever you think.
Okay,
yes.
good idea.
So you ask them to evaluate you. It is very good to get an evaluation of, yes, Miss Honey?
That's another question.
Yes.
I have a class 3 times a week, and I want your feedback on something. What I do with them lessons, if we have 2 content like Google Meet and a PowerPoint, then the third one is a class assessment. Or do you do one Google Meet and PowerPoint, the next one is a Nearpod, the next one is a Kahoot? How do you break up the class so it doesn't seem so monotonous, like every time you come is a Google Meet PowerPoint thing? I would like some suggestions if you have any.
Okay. Okay, Miss Honey. Now you said sometimes you do a Google Meet. In your Google Meet, you do PowerPoint presentation. Sometimes you do an airport. That is good. Interactivity. Now, remember, you have to, it's live. So sometimes you're going to give, for example, in my class, chemistry, I make the students have little hands-on experiments that they can do at home. So not all times they are going to be listening to Miss Robin droning on and on about something. I try to break it up by making them do some little activities, hands-on activities with a material that they can get at home. So quickly to the activities. So for diffusion and osmosis, I had them get potato pawpaw strips and stuff like that. And they came in and they showed me, and they had their cameras on, and the children were showing how they did their diffusion. And so in that class, I let them be the ones to present their information to me. So sometimes you'll be the presenter, you'll be Mr. Sage on the stage. Sometimes the children will be the presenters. Google Meet for education doesn't have breakout rooms where you can break out children and put them into things. You have to go and create in the Google Calendar your own little breakout room, and it's a very taxing sometimes when you have to move from one tab to the other to get to see what each group is doing to post an eye. So that is something Google, the government has to look about, breakout rooms. So you can make them do little activities in groups so that they can do group work. So that's another way. So that breaks up the monotony. So you can make them do tasks by themselves in the class. You can do your lectures, but you have to try to make things very interactive and interesting. Switch it up. Okay, so not everything. And it's like 2 classes a week we have most. So you can think. So on a Sunday or whatever day, you sit down and you think, and you sit and you plan your activities, something to make it very interactive so that the children can get it. So okay, this is going to be a very interactive session because we are going to say how we're going to have our classes be interactive. So if we're going to say how we're going to have our class interactive, we have to do an interactive class. Okay, our objective, by the end of the staff development session, you will identify apps, extensions, and websites that will aid in creating an interactive lesson, and 2, formulate a plan to create more interactive lessons. Okay, how much do you know about creating interactive online lessons? You have 30 seconds to answer that. Okay, majority of people say they know a little. So by the end of this lesson, let us make sure that we know a lot. So some people know a lot, but others know a little. So those of you who said, I know a lot, I will be calling on you all to help those that know a little. Okay, the problem. I am so depressed. When we were at school, I had the best classes. Now I have no idea how to reach my students online. Let's start with a plan. I think we can do this. So this is Miss Robin and maybe Mr. Edwards. Let's go. Draw the emotion you feel when you think about preparing for online classes. Let me see, you have 1 minute to draw the emotion you feel. I'm awaiting your drawing. Oh, wow. Miss Raby said, sad. Okay, this is interesting. Miss Augustine is happy. Wow. Well, this person is very quick in the drawing. Wow, Miss Laville. Oh, Miss Barron, you haven't started yet. Miss Edwards. Miss Edwards. Miss Thomas, what kind of face is that?
Do those 3 sessions perhaps. One is a classwork where you come, you introduce, you do whatever, and you allow them to do the classwork so you can in and out. You can do in and out of the lesson. Where one might just be a fully interactive session where you give activities. You have to plan it in such a way that you can leave the students to work on their own for a little while. Because you cannot
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. You are not a stage on the stage.
No, that's not going to work. For me, I have classes every day, free, at least 3 periods every day. When I create my PowerPoints, they roll over. Some of them over 2 and 3 sessions because I am not going to sit here and make a PowerPoint or or a different lesson for every single class. You're doing that, you know, because when you create your one long PowerPoint or one long presentation or whatever, you have activities to fill the 3 days.
Yes, Mr. Edwards, that's correct. Sometimes you can one PowerPoint can take an entire week. You just place activities, and you know at slide 16, I'm going to stop on day 1. At slide 32, that's the end for day 2. So you just create the
And you
one
use videos,
long slide.
Miss.
Pardon?
I said she can use videos as well, because
Yes,
that's what I do. And then when
exactly. And some of you are in your interactivity, you're making it too much about yourself. You miss the usage on the stage. We are past that. You are guide on the side. You are facilitator of learning online.
Fly on the wall.
Thank you. So you are not going to be talking and talking and talking for a whole half an hour and thing. No. You have to give the children opportunities to do work by themselves, and then you come back.
children
long hallelujah chorus, 10 minute, 15, 20, 30 minute videos. No. You're going to kill the children. Short videos. Okay, let's move on.
Make sure the videos are related to the topic.
Yes, and related to the topic. Don't just put any video there. Okay, describe how you teach a typical online class. I want to hear how you teach a typical online class.
Miss, can I go?
Yes, you can.
Because I have to leave just now.
Yeah,
okay, Miss, what I do, I use videos,
so
I use the text. Okay, so Miss, I use I don't have all those nice fancy things that all you have, and I'm happy you give us a little tip, so I will try and see how I can work with it. What I do, I use my textbooks, because some of the children don't have the textbooks. I have a scanner. I try to scan the pages I know we're going to use, and I place it on there. I look for videos, and I kind of mix everything. So I do a little video, because remember, we're just starting off, especially for like the lower school. So I use a little video. I use the textbook. Miss Barron and I, we have that because we teach in the same, some of the same classes and the same topics. We share material. So when Miss Barron make a PowerPoint, I don't have to make a PowerPoint. We share the same material, and I try to get the children. I realize when I give them some work, some of them they have difficulty. So what I do, I make them answer me orally. And sometimes if I have a class before a break, if there's a child that I think that is lagging behind, I ask everybody else to leave, and I ask the child to stay with me so we can go over some things.
Anybody else wants to share? Okay, I see some people sharing. Let me share on the screen here. Okay, Miss Daly, and then go ahead, Miss Daly.
Miss, my own disappear as soon as
Yes, I was typing, but because you shifted it.
Go ahead. I unshare.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was typing, but because you shifted it, just come off.
Okay, well, just wait.
Okay, so what I know on how I typically teach, I would I use Nepod, because I really like how Nepod allows me to get these students to interact. I use Nepod presentations. I record my classes, and I upload the classes afterward. I use extensions to make the presentations interactive and creative. I also use how they calling that? I lost my train of thought.
Jamboard.
I use so I create presentations, and I use the extensions to be creative, and I incorporate the interactive slides in the presentation so the students can interact with me. I also create discussion forums. So like what you were saying earlier in the beginning, I did that. So the students would respond to each other. I also upload the presentations after every lesson and the class recordings, so that the students who are absent, they can get to go and to see that. I also copy the chapters of the textbook for students who do not have textbook to make it easier for them to do that. One of the things that I created was something I call the to-do activity. To-do activities, what they do, they allow the students to, I give the students a to-do list, and in the to-do list, the steps they have to follow, it helps them to interact with the material, their textbook, right? So they get to read, they get to answer ITQ questions and so on and so forth, and they get to return the answers to me. And if I give them like a test yourself class activity evaluation, because normally the time run out, I trying to work on my time management still, but when the time run out, I'll just give them a test yourself with the evaluation questions that I had, and I will have them return it and we'll go through it next class. So that is my way of doing it.
Okay, it's good that you do a little bit of self-reflection and see about your time management so you can cut your classes down, because from your talking, you do a lot. That's a lot. So that's why probably sometimes you don't complete all your activities.
Right,
So
the interactive slides, I have to cut down on them because sometimes students have, you know, they're just adjusting to the online stuff, and the internet can be lagging sometimes.
Yeah.
So I just cutting down on the interactive slides, and I was considering the Kahoot, as I saw you did it today. It would have maybe been quicker and better.
Okay. Okay, so I'm just sharing what some people say. So a lot of people use PowerPoint. Miss State says icebreaker, then development, then assessment. Okay, that's good, Miss State. A lot of people go all over the place looking for information when the textbook is right there, and the textbook has activities that the children can do offline. So don't go sometimes hurting your head looking for things that are way out there when you can use your textbook to give students work to do. Okay, so when all else fails, your textbook is always available. Anybody else wants to share?
Yes, Miss, I can share.
Okay, Miss Saville, make it.
Yeah, very brief. So for my classes, normally I do Google Slides. I like using Google Slides because when I share it, my students can open it up while we're going through the classes to view for themselves, and they can also do like my drag and drop activities, my matching activities, etc. When they get to that slide. Also, I like to use Kahoot and Edpuzzle for testing or for class activity and classwork. My children enjoy it. But normally we just use our Google Slides. We do our interactions and make them do assignments or questions or interactive activities on the exercise books and present, or in their computer and share their screen with us because they can share screen.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on. Okay, so you have to come up with a plan. And in your plan, you have to search for ways to make your lesson fun and engaging. Remember, the lesson is supposed to be student-centered, and it is supposed to be the students doing the majority of the activities while you sit back and you watch and you guide the students. So you guide. Yes, Miss Honey?
Question. So for Nepal, it have student pace, and I think peer deck have the same thing. Is that encouraged that you just do this thing and then just click and let them pace themselves for the period? Or do you also you the one like changing the slide? Which one?
Sometimes you can do the live sessions, especially if, for example, you're teaching a subject like math, where you probably have to do it live because you need to teach them, especially for lower school. Upper school, fifth form, fourth form students that you know that they can pace themselves in the lesson, you can give them to do it the student-paced way. But for the live sessions, I usually like to do it live. Sometimes when, for example, we have workshop or staff meeting or something, I usually put up the student pace so they can do it then. But most of the times, for maybe a reinforcement, I put it up as the student pace. But most of the times, I use the live sessions, especially for lower school. Anybody else had their hands up? Anybody else? Okay. Yes, Miss Daly.
Miss, you can repeat what you just said. I lost you for a minute.
Oh,
Which
I
you just
said,
said in the latter end, in the
I
latter,
said
latter
some
end.
of it you can do it student pace, so the students can do it at their own pace, and you will just be there as a guide. So you will wait there, and then the students will say, Miss, I don't understand slide 32. You put up slide 32, you give them a little explanation, and they go back into the activity. So that means they are in student pace. Sometimes you want to do the live sessions. I teach
Oh,
math.
yes.
So most of the times I do it live because I really want them to understand the concept of math. So math is a subject you have to be really interactive with the students.
Right.
So you
Okay, so
choose.
you were saying that the Nearpod, yes, the Nearpod facilitates that.
It facilitates both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Didi, as you are on that, I have a question.
Yes.
Is it possible to, because today I was trying to do the long division on my life, and I did not know how where I should where I could have gotten like the points to actually draw, the division thing. I'm using the Google Doc and sharing the screen, but I'm not able to model the full long division. Do you know where I have to go to
Oh,
sort
I usually do use. Have an extension Equatio. I don't know if Mr. Edwards has another one, but I use Equatio, and everything I can talk, and
it will type.
it comes up. The equations come up.
So where do I get Equatio?
Equatio is an extension
of what?
that you can get on Chrome. I don't know if you can try that. Mr. Edwards, do you have any other ones you use?
I just for most times I use Google Paint or Google, is that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so I can write on
I
the screen.
I also use my tablets because I can use the stylus to
Right.
write better.
If you have a
So
stylus or
yeah,
something like
I
that,
use a stylus
easier.
on my tablet, especially for math, so that I can write. So Miss Joseph, I don't know if that might help you.
Yes, I need to look into that.
Yeah. But
Thank
I
you.
use Equatio too, and it's very good. It converts what I say into thing where I type it and it does it. All right. So let us come up with a plan. Okay, so yeah, I have a site. If you click on it, you can see 21 amazing free sites and apps you can use in your Google Classroom. So you click on that, save that page, bookmark it, and it gives some pretty good apps and sites that you can use in the Google Classroom. So that's for people who want to use these apps, assessments. So that's for math, book widgets, that's for English, and it gives good tips on different things you can use in the Google Classroom, 21 of them. So you look, you watch. GeoGebra, this is a good one for math teachers. Kahoot, well, everybody knows. Khan Academy gives a lot of videos and stuff like that. So math games, a lot of different sites. Well, Nearpod, we're using that now. PBS does some learning resources. Quizzes is a good one for quizzes that the children can use. Quizlet is another one. Science Bodies. BBC Bite Size is another good one. Wicklet. So these are good little sites that, yes, Miss?
Okay, Miss, I just wanted to add while we were on the note of the extensions. What I realized the extensions, when you add the extensions, yes, we like to add a lot of extensions, but when we add the extensions, what it does, it can cause a lag, and it can cause our tabs to take a while before they load, because like when you have a large amount. So there is an extension that I had to research because I realized, and I came across the extension Extensify. So when you all are downloading the extensions, you may want to download the extension Extensify, because what that extension does, it allows you to click on the extension and like to basically like remove them and click on them to put them back. So when you want to use it, you'll just click on it. You'll click on Extensify, it will allow you to add them immediately and to remove them. So your tab don't take like a lag and take a long time to load and so on.
Okay, thank you, Miss Daly. So we need apps, extensions, digital education tools, and websites, but that's not all. You need, don't forget, Bloom's taxonomy, learning styles, and lesson planning. You must plan your lesson. You cannot just go out there and create interactive lessons by Kiva using any and anything. Okay? And there is even more extensions you can use that are very essential for the Google Classroom. You click on them and you get even more of them. There are a lot. So it takes a lot of Googling to find out things, and you just go and you Google and you use and you find out and you read up and you make sure, come out there, and you make sure that what you use is good for your class. So the math teacher might use some math thing, the science teacher, some science stuff, anything, okay, that helps you. So you go out there and you do some research and you get some tips. So it's based on what subject you're teaching, you learn about it and then you use it. Things like Mote and Kami, these are very good extensions you can use. Okay, so anyone you feel comfortable with using. Remember, it is what is for you, for your class, okay? So different people might have different tools. So I want to hear what tools you all use. So if you have a tool that you think that is very essential for the teachers here that they can use in their classroom and you want everybody to use that tool, please write it in there right now so that the teachers them can get to go online and search those tools and see. So I want to hear from the language teachers, the French teachers, the history, social studies teachers. Okay, so look, Chanel said storyboard that for English Lit. So those of you all who teach Lit, this is a good tool to use. So can you all please put up? Miss Annie said Peer Deck. Okay, Miss Princess Quizzes. Okay, that's a good one. I see my science teachers use that. Miss Daly says Jamboard. Misted says Ed Parcel for PE. Live worksheet. Oh, yes, I love live worksheet. Okay, Mr. Edwards says Mentimeter. Okay, Mr. Edwards, I don't know that one. I must look. Miss Barron says Screencastify. Oh, let me send some love for you all. Good ideas. Yes, Miss Thomas says, Miss Benjamin talk about Jeopardy. Miss Benjamin, tell us about that one. And Mr. Edwards, Mentimeter. We need to hear about those.
The Mentimeter is almost like a thing, you know, like what we're in the airport. It has areas to do with clouds and poles and interactive stuff. Almost, yeah, almost like this here.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Benjamin?
Well, it's learning using games and as a Jeopardy, and the student get points. So it's for the correct answer. So vocabulary can be worked with that, even maths, any subject.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Benjamin. Let's move on. Okay, here's a little quiz. Fill in the blank.
Yes, miss.
Let us see what you all have learned so far. If you all were listening or if you all were cooking your lunch while I was speaking. Ooh. Wow. Oh, we have some smart learners here, boy. Good job. And then, just like in the class, we have some people not doing any of the assignments. So I'm going to call on some people, Miss Thomas, Miss Edwards, Miss Philip, Miss Edwards, Mr. Daniel, Mr. Kazimi, Miss Nelson, Mr. James, Mr. Paul. I'm not seeing your answering.
Mr. James, you know, twice
Oh,
I on my
you said
phone.
twice.
No,
Okay.
I on my phone, and twice when I go to do the assignment, it's saying, what did it say? Time out. It's a time up. It's a time up, yes.
Miss Robin, you trust in that?
But at least
Mr.
everybody know.
James, those children not making up excuses why they're not doing the schoolwork.
At least everybody know I'm in the class. But maybe some people sign into the class and they're not there.
Mr. James.
Don't try that. You don't do your assignment. Go and do your assignment.
You do time up. When time up, you cannot access the assignment.
No, because I timed it.
Right, so you see.
That is to ensure that the students are there and doing the work while it's going on.
There you go. You
So
see.
why are you
Yes, Miss Robin, I really like that it is being timed. So that is something I can use in my class.
Yes, time it so that the children know that you mean business and they don't lag and do other things.
That is true. And that is something I haven't been doing. So that could assist me in the time management.
Yes. Interactive lessons need to be fun and engaging. In order to create such lessons, teachers need to first do research. Apps, extensions, educational websites are great tools that will help a teacher develop his or her lessons. Teachers must also remember their students' learning styles, Bloom's taxonomy, and different methods of teaching when preparing lessons. So, what was successful? At the end of each lesson, you have to say to yourself, you have to do a bit of self-reflection. My lesson is much better than this week, but Jamal took part in this lesson. And listen to Mr. Edwards on the other side. But Jan and Bill were still lost during the lesson. So while she was looking at the positives, you also have to look at your weaknesses in your lesson. So as Ms. Daly said, she see that she has a time management problem and she has to work on that. So when you do your online classes, you have to look and see what is going on. If you're having issues, if you're having problems, where you pinpoint it and then you work on it to make it better, okay? So I'm going to ask, how do you know if your lesson was successful? How, as a teacher, will you know if your lesson is successful? You have 1 minute to complete that task. As you can see in our lesson interaction, I gave you moments where we could interact, where we could talk, where you could write. So that's interactivity. So you can know exactly what the students are thinking during the lesson. So this is called formative evaluation. So all during the lesson, you are asking questions, the children are engaged, just like how we were engaged during this lesson. You see how fun and interactive it is? And yes, Miss Honey?
Miss, on average, how long should a PowerPoint be?
Well, if you can time yourself teaching the PowerPoint and see how much, and then you have to give around 20 minutes for interruptions from students, questions to be asked and answered and stuff. So you have to do that. So you have to give leeway for students, and if they ask questions and stuff like that. So make sure that you, when in your back of your mind, when you plan and think of the student, the slowest learner, and plan with that person in mind.
Miss Robin.
Yes, Miss Hyacinth.
Miss Nelson, right?
Oh, Miss Nelson. Oh, Miss Hyacinth had a hand up first.
Okay,
but
okay.
Miss Nelson, you can go first, and then
No,
Miss Nelson. Yes.
I was just thinking, the first activity you gave, I didn't realize it was in another window, you know, because I'm seeing people putting things because I was on the screen. I was in the meet.
Oh, you didn't realize that?
No, it's by the
you are not in the lesson, Miss.
It's what I was just going to tell you. That's how some of the children may have felt because or they feel. It's when I realized I'm seeing people drawing their faces and I have no place to draw a face. When I look up,
you went in.
I went in, right?
Okay.
So yeah.
Immediately you see that you were out and you could go in. Yes, Miss Hyacinth and then Miss Barra.
The slide with the 21 resources, when you're done, could you show that slide again, please?
Okay. I will at the end. Okay, Miss Baron.
I was asking, how do you do differentiation on this platform? Because there are some students who are way advanced and they know the work already. For example, in 2-1, I was teaching. I take hours to prepare my work. Then at the end, when I ask, Leon, what did you learn today? Leon, like, Miss, I don't know anything. I know all that already. So what do I do if I student like that?
Okay. So you see in classwork, you can create classwork for Leon, and when you post the when you click on the post, it says post to all students. You just click on Leon alone, and you say post to Leon. So when Leon is finished with what you are teaching and what you do, you say, Leon, are you finished? He said, yes, Miss. You tell him go back on the Google on the classroom and click on whatever you name it and do the activities there. So only he can see that, only he can access it on the Google Classroom.
All right, thank you.
To add to that, like for example, I use a lot of live worksheets. So I wouldn't just get one, I will get 3 of them.
Yes, me too.
So if a child is finished, you go to the next one. Just to, yeah.
And sometimes you might have 4 of them and then you say, Jack, you do 1, 2, 3, 4. The rest of you'll do 1 and 2. And if whatever you can, so you put a lot. So then the students can just click and go on. And live worksheets are very nice. You can create your own live worksheets or you can use those that are created there already. It's your choice. Okay? And another thing I usually do is that there's this site called ck12.org. It has an interactive book, and on it also has exercises and quizzes at the end of reading. So what I do, I highlight the text that the students that I want them to learn from and the quizzes, and I send some of the students there to do some extra while the other students are working on something else. ck12.org. I do that for my science lessons. There are other subjects, but ck12.org, ck-12.org, and you can set up a classroom there for CK12, and you can post work on the classroom, extra work, and the students can go in there. I have that for my 5th formers. Mr. Gordon, you were saying something?
I was complimenting you on the session, a very good session.
Okay. So what would you change next time? So after you sit down and you say what was successful, what was not, so then you think, what would I change next time. So say, I want to reach more students next time. Me too. I think we should try to make the lesson even more interactive, give more formative assessments. So if you find the class was dead and cool and children were not answering, probably you were above their level, probably you're below their level, probably they did not care for the assignment and the activities. So you have to figure out another way to reach them. So you have to think back. And sometimes, as I said, you ask a question for feedback. What would you like to learn? What would you like to use? What makes it fun for you in my class? You ask questions. You don't just sit there and just depend, I don't know what to do. Ask the children. Let me tell you something. Our students are very forthright. They will tell you if you're doing something good, if you're not. And they will give you ideas. So throw it out to them. Okay? So what will you change? You should think of some things in your lesson, you go back and you change it up. So it might just be this interactive site Mr. Edwards just gave us there, and you go on it and you say, oh my app, all the time I didn't know live worksheets was wrong, and I did burst in my head trying to figure out of assessments to give the children. Or you can go on, yes, Miss Falmo?
Go ahead with your explanation when you're done.
Okay. Or you can say, oh, I really needed something to test and evaluate my students, and I didn't know where to get that. And then you get ideas out there on different things that you can use to evaluate your students. Your lesson, your end of lesson could just be a little text box like what I did there. So, and you ask the children what were their feelings about the lessons, and everybody posts something, and you read on the Jamboard. You can do an exit certificate and you ask the students what went well, what didn't go well, what would you want, how would you want the lesson to be improved on? What should we do next time to make it more interesting? And the students can give you ideas. Okay, Mrs. Valmore, you can speak now.
I just was wondering though, especially for 4th and 5th form, when you have a syllabus to cover, how do you balance between all this, gaming and all that? And you have certain skills you want the students to learn to be able to, be able to do, how you really balance that in a 45-minute, 2 classes a week.
Okay. With my 5th formers, I don't use as much of these things as I do the other students. I'm sorry, but I need to finish my syllabus. What I use is more simulations of experiments because I need them to do their experiments to complete the SBs. So I focus on that. So if my simulation, my activities are based on things I know that directly going to affect them for CSEC, I stick to those things. My lessons for 5th formers might seem blander than the others for the other students. I'm sorry, but we need to finish the syllabus. So I am not going to be giving them all these other fun and interactive things like I'm doing with my 2nd formers, my 3rd formers. No. My 5th formers, we are on a thing. So I run with them. We do more, I don't use Nearpod as much. I do sometimes, but I more do PowerPoint presentations. I more do that. And if I give a video, I stop the video in the middle. I ask questions during the video or something like that. But with my 5th formers, I really need them to be on task and for it to run quickly. Some of I put some of those interactive things as extras in the Google Classroom. They can click on and go and do it in their extra time. But for the lessons, I more stick to the syllabus and we run through it quickly. And I give them a lot of work from the text and stuff for them to do. I don't know, Mr. Edwards, what did you say?
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Edwards, you were saying?
Same. No, the same thing because 5th form, remember, they've been affected the most. So the same thing. You just try to do a lot of practice examples.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of videos, but after different examples, so you don't use the same examples all the time. And especially with math, you have to be at them constantly. A lot of practice questions, CXC practice questions as well. And more strategies to help to, because time is limited, the content is plenty. You just have to try to do as much as you can in a little time.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Edwards. The animations you see on your screen were done at pixton.com, Pixton. If you would like to set up little animations to start your class, during your class, you can go on that site and you can create your own little animations.
Miss, you can repeat that, please?
Pixton.com, Pixton, Pixton.com. You can create your own. Thank you, Mr. Edwards. You can create your own little thing like what I have there. Okay. Activity. Let's go. Let me see what you have learned today. This is a quiz on what you have learned today. Let me see how you all are going to do on that quiz. You have 1 minute to complete my quiz. Okay, time has run out. Majority of people got all the answers correct. Thank you very much for taking part. So now, how confident do you feel in creating an online lesson?
Miss Robin, Didi, Miss Robin, let me
Yes.
just thank you for this timely, because just last night I was thinking how I'm going to incorporate some of the. So me, I'm fed up of the Google Forms, and I wanted something fresh and new.
Okay.
To tackle paper one.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks for that.
Okay. Okay, so we have more people feeling confident. That's good. Okay, so I hope that you all have taken this, and I now have my takeaway. What is your takeaway from the staff development, so that I can know, so when we plan the next staff development, we can know what to plan for you all. So what is your takeaway from this staff development?